sufficient to sustain a hyper-growth, triple-digit growth pace.
MarketBeat's Thomas Hughes is back with his top 5 stocks he's watching in December, and the first 3 have a lot in common.
The tech stocks were hit hardest. They overcorrected. They corrected more than the other average stocks.
Thomas makes his case for 3 AI stocks that could have a strong recovery.
But this story will not hit its full stride until later on in this year.
Plus, 2 more speculative plays that could have a bright future ahead.
This one's already in production, already has business.
Thomas, so great to have you back on the show for one of our favorite segments, and that's looking ahead to your favorite 5 stocks to look at in the month ahead. Hard to believe it's almost December, but it is turkey time. Thanksgiving, I hope everyone's having a good Thanksgiving week, doing some turkey and shopping, and maybe shopping for some stocks too to add to your watch list for December.
Right.
Before we get into the 5 names that you have for us today, Thomas, let's just talk about November and closing out this month. We're heading into December on kind of a downtrend in November.
Well, right, November was kind of a tough month for stocks. We had macroeconomic concerns and the fears of an AI bubble bursting kind of weighing on the action. But looking at the S&P, it's more of a consolidation than a correction. 6 or 7 weeks of moving sideways isn't really a correction. So we're down, maybe 3% off the highs, but we're really just moving sideways. And to me, what this is doing is setting up buying opportunities for December and for next year, because the news coming from NVIDIA and the rest of the big AI players is that the AI bubble has not burst. It's in fact bigger than we thought, growing faster than we thought, and still accelerating.
Yeah, I think you'll notice as we go ahead throughout your list of 5 stocks that AI is a theme in your stock picks for December.
Well, right.
We are going to get to them, and I will be looking at each one, asking questions to see which one of your buys for December I want to add to the Bridget's Buys paper trading watch list. Here's a QR code and a link in the description if you want to see how the stocks we talk about move over time. Today, I'm going to be picking just one of these 5 stocks to add to that public watch list. I'm really excited for this list of 5 stocks you have for us in December, Thomas. A quick important note for our viewers, though. This is not financial advice. The goal here is to give you some stock ideas and analysis that you can go and further research yourself before making any of your own financial decisions. All right, Thomas, let's get into the first stock that you are watching in December.
Well, right, because this was really an AI and a tech-induced sell-off correction. The tech stocks were hit hardest, and that's why so many of them have shown up on this list, because they overcorrected, they corrected more than the other average stocks, and just set up more attractive opportunities. Now, the first one I picked is Advanced Micro Devices. So if there's any company that's poised to gain share from NVIDIA, it's Advanced Micro Devices. Right now, it's definitely benefiting from the AI boom. Results are awesome. They're outperforming, and they're growing robustly. But this story will not hit its full stride until later on in this year when it releases the MI450 line, and that will elevate it into the level of rack scale capability. It'll become a viable option for hyperscalers, and there are certainly reasons for them to want to use these chips. Memory performance, cost performance are only part of that picture. So in December, what I see happening for Advanced Micro Devices is support stepping into the market, buying this stock, rebuilding positions, and setting it up for really big advances and gains next year.
Yeah, this stock has seen quite a sharp pullback, just like you said. Do you think that there's any validity to that pullback? Was that really just a quick knee-jerk reaction from the market? What do you think contributed to that, down over 20% in the last month?
So yeah, about 25%. But this is like so many of the other AI stocks. This is a really rapidly swelling outlook, and it's driving a rapidly swelling market. So this first influx of money that drove us up to the recent highs was a rapid influx, and it overshot the current reality, and we've corrected back by 25%. But what I see in the charts is pretty solid support above critical levels, above an open price gap that shows me the market has moved up to fill that gap and is ready to continue buying the stock, providing a nice solid support base to help it launch higher, if not in December, then early in next year.
Yeah, some things that stand out to me looking ahead to this stock for December and the year ahead, we are seeing some new price targets just in the last few days and weeks that have been a lot higher than where AMD is trading right now.
A rebound to the recent highs is worth about 30%, but the analyst trends are suggesting a move as high as 380, which is about a 50% gain. And given the trends, given the expectation for revenue growth starting in the back half of next year, I would expect to see that high end continue to move higher as we get closer to the MI450 launch and as it's launched and the first data points are coming out after the launch.
Again, the AI is the trend. We have a few other really interesting names to get to right now that are down a little bit. But one thing I wanted to just ask you about AI and analyst ratings, I feel like this is a sector where analysts aren't sure what to do with their price targets. If you're an investor who cares about that, there's been a lot of rapid growth in AI. How much weight do you put into an analyst forecast or price target, especially in this rapidly growing sector right now?
Well, as always, I don't put a whole lot of weight into any one analyst's forecast or revision. It is the bulk of analysts and the trend in the revisions. And right now, we have a lot of analysts covering these AI stocks. Coverage is increasing, sentiment is firming, and the price target trends are higher. So that's just a multifaceted tailwind for the stock price action.
All right. Another unique thing about AMD is the timing before that new product launch that you mentioned too. So I'm thinking about that one when I think about it for Bridget Spies. Let's get on to the second company you have sticking with the AI theme right now.
That's Broadcom. Broadcom has emerged as a real viable AI player. It's not making general purpose GPUs, but it can certainly take share from NVIDIA in the custom market. It's focusing on custom ASICs and GPUs to help its really large clients focus on really specific AI tasks and AI workloads, which include Apple, Meta, and Alphabet. So right now, the company is forecasted to grow at a double-digit CAGR for the next few years, but I see this forecast as being too low because of its lean into these custom ASICs. And as we move forward, I think that the need for custom is going to improve and increase, probably at a greater pace than the need for general purpose GPUs, because as AI advances, each model and each use case is going to become more and more specific.
I think another interesting one with this one, you made a really good case for this company and why it has the potential to grow, but it has grown. It had just a small pullback, but it's already recovered and almost then some. It looks like it's almost close to that all-time high for the company too. Is this a time to still be getting into AVGO in December at the rate that we're seeing heading into start the month?
Well, we're right. So the stock price is up pretty good in November, but what I'm seeing is this market is breaking out of a consolidation. The indicators are set up for it to continue moving higher. So there is some concern with chasing the price. If you get some price weakness, that would certainly be a more opportune time to buy it. But Broadcom is heading higher. Analysts are definitely leading it higher. We're looking for a pretty solid double-digit upside over the next few months.
Yeah, and a very strong and solid company. Another name that's very familiar to investors, but there's a lot of reasons to be looking at adding this in December. We're going to get onto the third pick, which is also AI related. But before we do, if you want to continue looking into other really strong AI stocks to consider for 2026, check out Thomas's recently updated report on the 10 best AI stocks to own in 2026. He has a list of names there that are all, again, very strong names to look at that are showing some strength for 2026. You can scan that QR code or click the link in the description and get that free list of 10 additional AI stocks to look at. Well, Thomas, let's get to the third stock on your December buy list.
Yeah, that's Applied Digital. I know that this stock is near and dear to your heart. I think it's near your hometown, right? One of its data centers.
One of the big data centers right in my hometown. It's a name I'm very familiar with.
Right.
There's been a lot of price action on this one.
Well, right. So this had one of the more significant price pullbacks, but it's also having one of the more significant rebounds as of late November. The story here is that it is a GPU as a service company. It has, dedicated capacity for clients that have locked in. It also offers GPU as a service, just on an on-demand basis. But given the news from NVIDIA, this company and all other GPU as a service companies are very well positioned because NVIDIA says its GPUs and its own GPU capacity is sold out. If anybody wants to have NVIDIA GPU, AI-capable GPU capacity, they're going to have to find it somewhere else. And that means going to companies like Applied Digital. And within its own news story, the latest headlines are just additional and follow-on orders for hundreds of gigawatts of capacity at its existing and its upcoming data center campuses, which has it on track to be fully sold out itself, probably by the end of this year or early next year, setting it up to build even a third or a fourth campus down the road. So really just another rapidly blossoming outlook for revenue and for earnings.
It's good outlook, but it's still a very new story and a new company. It's one of those companies that made that switch from Bitcoin mining to AI data center infrastructure. And I think that the thing that is a discussion point here for some investors is there's so much capital that has to go into building these massive data centers. And yes, the revenue is coming in, but they keep building more. Is there any concerns about the balance sheet working out where they're able to make up that massive capital they had to put into building these?
I mean, there certainly is some risk, but the way it looks to me is they're securing contracts for capacity before they build it or as they're building it. So they're really de-risking their own projects as they're being constructed.
Do you consider Applied Digital, and I think Iron is another company, there's other AI infrastructure companies as part of the AI story, or are these more a real estate company? Essentially, they own the real estate that the big hyperscalers are needing for that space.
I mean, these might be considered like a dual play. They certainly have some similar qualities to REITs, but ultimately they're making their money by selling GPU capacity, and that's going to be the driver over time.
All right. And where the stock is right now, again, we talked a lot about the price action, a lot of moves in this company. We're starting to see some recovery now. Where do you expect this stock to go in the next year?
The analyst trends suggest a move to the high end of the range, and that's about an 80% upside from the critical support levels that we hit in mid to late November.
All right, an interesting one to consider. Again, a name I'm very familiar with. So we'll see if that makes it on Britain's buy list this time or not. Let's get on to the fourth stock on the list.
Yeah, that's Ondas Holdings. Ondas Holdings is emerging as a real player in the drone industries. Its products are in demand because of their capability, but also because of their cost effectiveness. They're a little bit lighter, a little bit cheaper to operate, and so they certainly are attractive for governments who are really price conscious and cost conscious. Right now, the business outlook is accelerating on the back of increased orders from existing clients and new clients and government contracts. Right now, the forecast is sufficient to sustain a hyper growth, triple digit growth pace, and it looks like it could be a low estimate. The analyst trends are robust as well, right in alignment with the swelling outlook. You got increasing coverage, affirming sentiment, and outlook for the stock to rise by like 30 to 60%.
Yeah, this is a newer company that we just started talking about in the last week or two on the channel. Let's talk about what makes this different than some of the other drone companies we've talked about before.
Right. So Ondas really stands out because of its drone platform. Now, these aren't necessarily drones like military drones where they're flying around shooting rockets and stuff. It's more of those smaller surveillance and security style drones. But the platform is AI powered and fully autonomous. So you could take these drones, and I believe they call it a drone in a box system, but you can take these drones, open the box, turn them on, tell it what to do, and then it'll work on its own, helping you to secure and monitor your own facilities.
Interesting concept. And yeah, like you said, different than some of the other names that we said. Before we move on to the next stock on your list for December, I want to talk about defense stocks in general, these drone stocks. They were doing really, really well a few months ago, and then they really had a strong pullback. Any kind of catalyst happening in defense that would cause these stocks to see, this one especially, to see a surge in December or early in the new year?
Well, I think as far as the drone market goes and the correction, it's just part of the general broad market correction. A lot of industries, a lot of sectors are looking for some pretty solid growth over the next year. We had a pretty rapid influx of money into the market since April. And so there were lots of opportunities for profit taking. These smaller, small cap companies with less revenue and lack of profits are usually more susceptible to those big pullbacks, which is why you saw so much volatility in this stock. I think right now, the most recent action yesterday, Ondas rose by 30%. It's still rebounding pretty strongly.
All right, another interesting one to consider for December. Let's get to your fifth and final stock pick for December. What other stock are you watching?
MP Materials. And that's the rare earth play. That's the one that the government bought a stake in. And what's happened is the stock price surged by quadruple digits, but it has since corrected by 50%. Right now, we're showing pretty solid support at critical levels that have aligned with previous highs and a critical moving average. We've also got analysts upgrading the stock and lifting price targets, citing the company's alignment with national security issues and its forecast for revenue and for earnings growth.
This is a really interesting one and definitely a buy the dip timing on your watch list for December
Right.
because this stock has been hit so hard. I think investors have really struggled with these rare earth stocks that were doing so well and then had such a big pullback. How long do you think recovery could take? And will it fully recover to some of the highs that we saw just a few weeks ago?
Unlike so many of the other rare earth stocks, this one's already in production, already has business. Part of the story right now is that it's shifting from a pure play on mining into a vertically integrated company. And what that means, it'll be from mines to magnets. So it's going to mine the rare earths, it's going to process them, it's going to make them into magnets that can be sold for industrial purposes, which really helps solidify the U.S. rare earth supply chain, really critical for defense markets. Its business looks far more stable than many other companies, and that's being reflected in the analyst updates. JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs both just recently upgraded the stock, citing the vertical integration, the alignment with national security, all just really very good news for the company and for shareholders.
Yes, MP is an interesting one for me just because it is down so much. And you gave a lot of good reasons for why there could be a good long term comeback for this company. I'm really thinking about adding this one to Bridget's Buys as my pick for this video to that paper trading watch list of mine. But I do know, here's a little teaser. I have another video coming up in just a couple of days that is going to cover rare earth stocks. It's going to be a whole video on rare earth stocks. And I'm thinking this one might be on that list and I could have an opportunity to add it to Bridget's Buys then. So I'm going to hold off on adding it for now, and I am going to go with AMD. I like Applied Digital. I think that has some strong potential. I thought ONDS is a really strong small cap play. Right now, my watch list doesn't have a lot of diversity with some of these larger names and bigger companies, and AMD's dip right now is really interesting to me. So I think that's the one I'm going to add to the watch list for today. You can check out the other stocks in my public watch list by scanning the QR code or clicking the link in the description now. Thomas, what do you think? I know it was the first one on your
Yeah.
list, so is that the one that you would have picked too?
I think it's a great choice. I like AMD. I think it's got a lot going for it, and I think it has a pretty robust upside potential.
Yeah, that's what I liked about this one too. Let me know what you think in the comments. Which of these 5 stock picks from Thomas for December are you most interested in? Are you enjoying following along Bridget's Buys to see the progress in all the stocks we talk about on the channel? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching, everyone. As always, happy investing.